they very well could have just been, hey, go out there. They didn't say, listen, you're our only line of fucking defense of these people and dying. So you need to be this close to the people at all times. And here's the protocol for what something happens. Like, all that seems to be missing.
How have you done on the, so you were there 21 and 22, both of those years had swimming events. How have you done on the swimming events? Because you're water polo.
2021, I finished second behind Yone.
Oh, wow. So you're a really good swimmer.
So we're here to talk about Lazar Đukić. Many of you are asking the big question, what happened and why? And we don't know yet. And I'm on here today now because I watched this unfold this morning. I'm going to kind of explain how that all happened. But just to get that out first, this is not to point. A lot of people want to point fingers. Don Fall in charge of CrossFit, Dave Castro in charge of the games. Is it the safety people's fault? We don't know. Someone needs to find out. Today, over the next couple of days, we're going to let the dust settle, like figure out how to deal with this tragedy. Are the games going to go on? All that stuff. But then someone does need to do the investigative research. It's not going to be me because I'm not that close to begin with. Someone like Hiller, someone like maybe John Woolley, who have access to all the key characters and can get access to the most information, hopefully, when the time is right, not today, will figure that out and do that hard work. But I just want to kind of take you through, because I hopped on live this morning because I just wanted to talk about this to somebody. I called my wife, and then I called my buddy Rich, and I just wanted to process this as it was happening. So I went live on Instagram, and a bunch of you came on there with me. But I just kind of want to, so today, this is everything we know so far and a bunch of clips I put together so that you don't have to Google all over the place, because I know that I look for a trusted voice when I want information, and I may be that for some of you people, a lot of the hybrid and OCR fans out there, because obviously there's a tons of CrossFit channels, but maybe you know me a little bit better and you just want to hear, like I know for me, the one CrossFit voice I always wanted to hear from was Armin. He doesn't do it anymore, sadly. Still love Armin. But I'd want to hear what he has to say. So some of you out there might want my thoughts, and I just thought I'd put this together so we'd all have it kind of in one place. And then as more comes, I'll let you know. But I want to start out this morning. I woke up I was up at 7:30 Eastern, and I remembered, the games is starting shortly. The games were set to go off at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern. So I watched that first event, not intently. I watched part of the run, and then I'm on my laptop, like TV was on in bed. I'm on my laptop. I'm kind of watching it. Event ends. We get the winners. We get a top 10. I actually quickly took a screenshot of the top 10. I remember that specifically because sometimes they don't update the scores till later, and I wanted to see who the top 10 was. And was like, all right, we'll see what happens later on today. And then I got a message from Todd who said, someone's missing. They shut the feed down, blah, blah, blah. And I wrote back, what are you talking about? I just watched the event. No. The team event's canceled. They're shutting it down. Everyone's been told to leave. And I'm like, what? I just watched this. What do you mean? And then I realized he's behind me. You click on a live feed and you start from the beginning, you're behind the actual coverage. So I turned it on and it's already gone. The live feed was already, like, they'd already taken it down. And then there was a live feed of a gentleman whose name eludes me. I'll link it below. They probably took his video down because he reshowed the whole thing. I did record it on his channel. I recorded his channel because I knew they'd probably all eventually go down. But I'm not sharing that here. A, because I don't want to get it taken down. And B, I just want to wait till we know everything. But we watched it happen. You see his head kind of bob up and down a couple times, and then it disappears. And I was just like, my heart sunk. And the thing that I said to him out loud in the moment was, this feels like when 9/11 happened, like that same sinking feeling of a friend calling me and saying, this is happening. Obviously, the level of tragedy is way different, but I just remember that's the feeling I had. So that's how I learned. And then I went out quickly and I watched, I went to the Savon feed and watched this happen.
So I'll keep you guys updated. There's not really much we can do besides they're going to try to start getting people to exit. Oh my God.
Oh, Suze is calling. Susie, you're live. You're live.
Hey,
Hey, you're live.
yeah. Can you guys kill the show for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To completely go off or just mute?
Yeah.
All right. Guys, we're going to have to end the stream. It looks like something serious has happened.
Yeah, I just got on the live feed, was trying to process it. I had to take my kid to school. And I think the biggest question one might ask is, how does someone this fit? How does this happen? This guy is a swimmer, remember. How did this happen? And a heart incident, which is what I'm guessing happened, I don't know, can happen to people of all ages. I'm 52. I did a workout in my backyard that was not inherently dangerous. It was a 500-meter run, come back, do some wall balls, 500-meter run. I did something else, 500-meter run, weighted lunges. I was doing weighted lunges in my backyard, and I fell over. And I came in the house, and it felt like I was having a heart attack. And I laid there for 10 or 15 minutes. My wife was freaking out. Do we call 911? I don't know. Like, it was the worst pain I've ever felt. And so I don't know what's happening yet. I went to the doctor. We're getting more tests. That's not the point. The point is, if that happens in the water, you're fucked. And things like this do happen to really fit people. Professional athletes have died while playing sport. High schools and colleges, these kids used to die or have serious incidents happen in the summer all the time. They do these 2-a-days. These are young, healthy people. These are some virile fucking young men. And sometimes the body just shuts the fuck down. So did he cramp? Did he swallow water? We don't know. But I do want to cut to this clip of him talking to Dave on Dave's podcast, because he was definitely a good swimmer.
What did tell me about your water polo experience? I mean, because that is a tough sport, and you have to fight, and you have to be strong in the water and a good swimmer.
Yeah. I broke my arm when I was 7 years old, and the doctor said the fastest recovery is through swimming. And I started swimming, and then I saw some huge guys in like next to me, and I was like, what those guys are doing? And they said they play water polo, so I'm like, I want to be like that. And yeah, I started and stick with that for 10 years, and then I stopped, mostly because of political reasons. In Serbia, it's really hard to get to like a team if you don't have a backup, not like backup, but like somebody pushing you.
How have you done on the? So you were there 21 and 22. Both of those years had swimming events. How have you done on the swimming events? Because you're water polo.
2021, I finished second behind Yone.
Oh wow! So you're a really good swimmer.
Yeah. And then 2022, I finished fourth, but that was more of a ski. Like, if you're a big guy and you can swim, you're gonna be fine. Like, there wasn't really a lot to gain on the swimming, except like if you are really not good in the water, you will lose time. But if you're fine, there's like fast guys were 37 seconds, slower guys like 40 seconds. 3 seconds on the skier doesn't make that much of a difference if you're like a big, strong guy. So yeah, second and fourth in the swimming events that I've done.
Since you're so good at swimming, do you spend less time swimming because you already are, or do you still swim a lot?
No, I swim twice a week through the whole year.
Through the whole year?
Yeah, because it makes my body feel better.
Yeah. What's a swimming session for you? Like, what's a typical swimming session?
Oh, I have a coach from Serbia. Actually, he lives in Canada. His name is Nemanja. Nemo.
Okay.
And he programs for me. We have like a warm-up part, main set, and cool down. Usually main set is really hard. Like, he gives me the paces that I need to hit, and it's usually from 2 to 2.4 kilometers.
Damn.
Once a week. Other session is a bit shorter.
So we also saw on the live feed that it looked like someone did in fact jump in the water from this side. If you're watching the athletes, it would have been from the right. That's the other piece I want to say, that earlier in the broadcast, the commentators made a joke, and I'm not throw them on the bus, but I just remember them saying, like, you're swimming, you're out of breath. When you're in water, you don't just go straight like you're running. You get off course a little bit. So, and when I play my interview with Max later, he's going to talk about that in deep detail. But they showed how everyone was in the water and there was not a straight line of racers. They were kind of all going all over the place. And there were a couple that were going way off this way. Like you can just see them if you're watching the camera. And they made a joke like, well, I hope those guys, they're in for a long day, or they're going to come in last in the game, this first event or whatever. And I remember thinking, that's actually not a joke. They should send someone out that way because you don't want to lose track of them. But they were just commenting in the moment, whatever. I think what's so surprising is they did commentate the entire event and no one noticed. That's the weirdest part, is that even if the commentators can only see what's being shown to them and then what's in their ear. So there comes Tia, here comes this person, here comes this person. But that all the other people on the side, more people didn't act quicker or didn't get the lifeguards to act quicker. That's the part that's so weird. So I want to give some more, I know I'm all over the place, guys. Sorry, doing the best I can. I've done a couple of 100 obstacle races, and there is often water crossings or water submersions. At events like Tough Mudder and Savage Race, they have the jump off a platform into a 20-foot, let's say it's 12 feet deep of water. I don't know. Maybe it's 20 feet deep of water. They dig a big hole and they put water in it, and it's a fear thing, right? Like physically you just jump off. Gravity does the rest. World's Toughest Mudder, we jumped off a 30-foot cliff, and there's always safety people in the water. And someone did drown early days of Tough Mudder, World's Toughest Mudder 2013. There was a tragedy. A man jumped in and didn't come out. And that's the only drowning death I'm aware of. And I've done personally a couple of 100 obstacle races. There have been tens of thousands of obstacle races in the last 20 years. And people have died on site of heart attack or heat exhaustion, or they went down and then went to the hospital and later died. But drowning hasn't been a big deal in obstacle racing. And they have had swims. In Spartan race swims, they give you a mandatory life vest, even if you're a good swimmer. And good swimmers say, don't give me that. It hinders me. But too bad. They give it to everyone. You're going to hear Max talk about a buoy thing that he's used before, that maybe that's something they could have given the athletes. If they didn't want to prohibit their swimming, they could have tied this to their body. The people who are the lifeguards, you're probably imagining like, what do you call it? Baywatch. And that's not always what you get. I've been to events where there's some EMTs that were pretty hefty, that certainly could not run to catch up with anyone. Not that they have to, but just pointing it out. And when it comes to swimming and lifeguards, sometimes it's a very experienced lifeguard. Sometimes it's a kid from the Y, 17, 18 years old. And they're qualified. They passed whatever training they needed to pass to be a lifeguard. But that might have been standing on a paddleboard. And maybe they weren't trained properly. Maybe they just said, okay, go out there and jump in if you need somebody needs some help. My experience with these events is they tell athletes, listen, if you have trouble, get to the guard or get to the floating thing. But if they help you, you're DQ'd as an athlete. Like, you're going to be DQ'd from the event. So it's their job. They want to keep you in the event, is to see how you're doing. And then if they see you struggling, just jump in. That's my understanding. Max told me in triathlon, you're actually allowed to hold on to breathe for a minute. You just can't be pulled forward by them. Let's cut to, I want to quickly show when we finally found out a couple hours later. Some of you may still not have seen it. The news came out, and very brief, and I get it. They're not going to. Hiller was very mad that they weren't going through all processes and procedures for this, and I just don't expect them to. They got to sort out what the fuck's happening. Are they going to do this event? All these sponsors are there. All these athletes are there. The city has made these promises. Like, you can't just cancel the whole thing. By the time this comes out, maybe they have. But I expected the basics. He comes out and makes kind of a prepared statement. The police kind of do their thing and say their prepared statement, and that's all we got.
Don Fall, CEO of CrossFit, DONFAUL.
Dave Castro, director of the CrossFit Games, CASTRO.
And I have a brief statement to share with you this morning. CrossFit is deeply saddened by the death of one of our athletes during the swim portion of our event this morning. We're doing everything in our power during this tragic time to support the family, to support our community. We are collaborating and working very closely with the authorities on the follow-on investigation. We've canceled the rest of today's events and activities in the CrossFit Games, and will continue to be focused on supporting our community and the family through this tragic set of circumstances. And with that, I'll hand it over to FD.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out. Just want to take the time at first to let everybody know our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out with the family members that were affected today in this tragic event, the CrossFit community and the community here in Fort Worth, Texas. So we got called out this morning originally about 8 o'clock for an assist PD call that had gotten changed, the call types along the way, and it ended up being a participant in the water that was down and hadn't been seen in some point in time. The fire department came out only as a search and rescue type resource. We were not here on scene prior to the initial 911 call for help. We had our dive teams come out. We had our arson investigators come out with their drones trying to help locate the missing person. And we were ultimately able to bring that body out of the water just a little over an hour of when we put our first diver in the water. So I'll circle back if you guys have questions on that after we let PD talk. Sergeant Leah Wagner with PD is going to make a statement as well. Leah.
Good morning, Sergeant Leah Wagner, WAGNER. As Craig mentioned earlier, this has been a terrible day for everybody that's participated in these events, and it breaks our hearts to see everyone mourning for what happened today. So our role mainly has been for support of everybody that's been here today, for the community, for CrossFit, for FD. We came and were here initially, and then when FD recovered the athlete, then we contacted our homicide department, who came out, and when that occurs, we pretty much just do an information report to document what has happened, and then we pass on the body over to the Tarrant County Medical Examiner's office. And I know a lot of you have questions about who it was today, and unfortunately that cannot be answered because out of respect for the family, that information is not going to be released until TCME has had the opportunity to speak with the family and verify the deceased athlete's name and identity. So if there are any other questions about this moving forward, you can direct it to Fort Worth Police Media, and we will forward those inquiries to the appropriate entity at that time. I'm going to step back now to see if there's any other questions that you have, and then we'll go from there.
You said you intend to cancel today's events. Have you made any decisions about the rest of the CrossFit Games?
We have not yet. We're going to be regrouping later today.
Okay. I wonder too, we saw videos of what happened. Can you kind of describe what the paddleboard kayakers and safety staff are supposed to do, what the protocols are when you see someone struggling in the water?
So we have for an event like this, a fully planned and documented safety plan. As you know, we had safety personnel on site throughout the event. All of the details around the process, the event, what unfolded today, that'll be a part of the details that we work through very closely with authorities. That'll be part of the information that's to come as part of the investigation.
But there is a safety protocol for...
Correct.
I talked to some of the athletes off camera. It sounds like CrossFit is a very tight community. Kind of describe that community and your emotions now and how you are dealing with these athletes.
Yeah, CrossFit is, as you know, is in some ways like a family. People care a lot about each other, and there's a lot of people in the community that are hurting right now, that are really sad, that knew the athlete well, that loved and respected this person, and a lot of people are mourning, and we want to do everything we can to support the community, to support the family, friends, through this really challenging time.
Hearing the athlete is from Serbia, can you confirm that?
Can't confirm any details about the athlete.
there was a lot of chatter when this moved from Wisconsin to here about the heat. And I just wonder, is it as hot as you expected? Do you feel like you adequately prepared for the temperature differences, Fort Worth versus Madison?
We every time we plan for a new venue, we go through extensive planning. We were fully, versed in preparing for it, very confident in the event that we could plan and prepare. Precautions as relates to the heat around time of day that we went through, yes.
How do you feel right now?
Gutted. Really sad.
But I better get something later. And I really want to hear from Don, from Dave, what happened, what went wrong, what they're going to do next time. And hopefully they'll do the thing and do that. And maybe they won't. All right. As I said, listen, if anyone's going to do it, it's Hiller. But also I think John could, the Willie Meemeth guy. So I do want to read this. There's a lot of people saying a lot of stuff online, but I do trust the person that sent me this information, who I was trying to get on live and may get on later. But it's someone who has a former lifeguard. Drawing from my own experience as a former lifeguard working big events such as the European Championships in Glasgow 2018 and the Commonwealth Games. There was an indoor swimming pool, but we had one athlete to one lifeguard on the events, plus there's a backup crew in the venue on the warm-up pool, then a further set of spares rotating in and out for breaks. The point I made was our procedures wouldn't let any event go ahead unless the venue had enough staff inside. I got lucked out at one point due to my credentials not being ready, and the management had the power to shut down the event due to safety concerns of not having enough staff to ensure athlete safety. Not much is known yet, but the actions of those in the paddle boards while watching the live stream today, in my opinion, were that of just volunteers happy to be involved in the games rather than actual lifeguards. The ratio of lifeguards to athletes seemed insane to me. We were never left in charge of more than 20 people just in regular public baths. I think I spotted 2 at the finish line for 79 athletes, ? And I was starting to say that at these events that I've done. So I've been at an obstacle race and you chat with the volunteers. You see a guy and gal on a paddleboard. How's your day going? Good. You know what I mean? And they're there and they're doing a good job. And thousands of people go through these races and tragedy doesn't happen almost all the time. I can't say 100% because I don't know, but I've also been to races where there was supposed to be a volunteer on one side of the water, a volunteer on the other side of the water, and then a lifeguard in the water. And sometimes the protocol was supposed to be lifeguard on either end, plus 1 in the middle or 2 in the middle. But who is at the other end? A mom and her kid who just signed up to volunteer for the day, and they stuck them there with a radio. Anything bad happens, call us. And those of you watching, I'm sure you've seen that too. Now, they're not bad people. They just got sent out there. If it was me and they sent me out there, I'd say, I'm not qualified. Shouldn't there be a lifeguard standing right here? But if they just went out for the day to lifeguard, so I'm sure the people standing on the paddle boards had lifeguard credentials. I'm not saying they didn't, but what he's saying is they very well could have just been, hey, go out there. They didn't say, listen, you're our only line of fucking defense of these people and dying. So, you need to be this close to the people at all times. And here's the protocol for what something happens. Like all that seems to be missing. I'm going to wrap up with the clip that I have, unless something changes while I'm putting this up. Max Fennell is a professional triathlete. He has swum in some very dangerous open waters. And I just happened to have him on a podcast yesterday to talk about things. And so I thought it'd be great to get him on. We went on live and he kind of explains his experience in these events. And so I'm going to play almost that whole thing for you. Please feel free to link anything below. There has been a GoFundMe that started. I don't know who started it, but I assume it's legitimate. I tried to ask around, like before you start GoFundMe's, like, hey, can we make sure the right person's getting the money for this? So give it your own, whatever, but I'm going to go ahead and post it. And if you post it, post in the comments if you're watching this and like you do see something new or you have information, or I definitely want to hear from lifeguards from events, event producers, people who are in safety, talk about protocols. I'd love to educate the audience more on that stuff. That's it for now. And just hug everybody tighter, because this is a tragedy. Take care.
Miles, how are you feeling after a 5K? You're probably breathing pretty heavy, right? And your heart rate might be depending where you're at, probably around like 160, 170, right? Now you're going into deep, dark water. You're trying to breathe significantly, right? You're a big, beefy guy. You're now trying to swim and you're trying to catch your breath. You're swallowing water, right? If there's people around you, they're probably kicking or bumping into you, right? And you're thinking to yourself, I'm trying to get through this. And a lot of the times when you're a big, beefy guy, your hips are sinking, right? So you're kind of, instead of swimming like this, you're swimming like this, right? So you're trying to keep yourself above water, right? Your heart rate's still spiked. You're swallowing water. So, this is kind of a recipe for disaster in my eyes as well. Before I got on, I wanted to show everyone this. This is what I swim with when I swim by myself, right? So it's a swim buoy, right?